Hello everyone, TLSG here, back again with another daily Marvel Snap video. So yesterday we pulled Thanos on our alternate account, and we actually don't have Thanos on our primary account. So of course I wanted to look at and test out some builds, thinking it was honestly going to be more of a niche or meme build. And it turns out that I've been having some insane games, some really good win streaks, some really good cube rates from it. And I definitely think it is worth running. If you have Thanos, you don't really need that deep of any other Series 5 or Series 4 cards. You can make do with just Series 3 cards, which I think is what makes this deck so flexible and so viable. And it just has so many alternative play lines and different play paths that in most games and most situations, you can find a way to navigate it to position yourself with a way to win. Now, this list was not created by me. It was created by a user that is one of the top users, has been one of the top users since the closed beta, and they ran Wide Wong back before Cosmo was really strong and really locked down and pushed some really high ranks. And this season, they actually posted this on snap.fan, and they were able to hit, I believe it was rank 270 with a list very, very similar to this. The only substitution I made was I took out Vision and I added in Leech. So the reason I added in Leech is that this deck is pretty susceptible to high rolls from Silver Surfer, to lockdowns from Spider-Man, from Zabu lists. So Leech helps you kind of level the table a little bit. You have a better chance against those decks, and if you can get a lucky Leech off, sometimes that is all that you need to find your winning conditions. But overall, the deck list runs incredibly well. We have a lot of really cool play lines. We have the arrow to pull their cards out of the lane that they want them to be in, either on turn 5 or turn 6, depending on what kind of deck they're running. We have the time stone that gives us 1 additional energy. If we use that on turn 4, and we have She-Hulk and Infinite in hand, we can actually skip on 5 and play 30 power onto the board in our She-Hulk and our Infinite. And of course, if Sunspot is on the board, he will absorb some of that additional value as well. We have Lockjaw that can really help us by rotating our stones and maybe some of our lower cost cards. Our primary targets are going to be the stones though. We have Blue Marvel that will buff up everything on the board. Magneto can really work to clump together the opponent's 3 and 4 cost cards, which are very common right now. And so as long as they don't have enough to completely flood the board, Magneto can push all of their major power into one lane so that you can win the other 2. And then we have Quinjet, which is going to be phenomenal in I think any Thanos build because it makes your stones free. You can drop them for no cost. And so far in my testing, I've had insane success with this. And I think it's a deck that is very viable, but seems like it doesn't get covered all that often. And so we are going to go ahead and jump over into a couple of games. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, first up we have Palomino 10. The first location is the Bifrost. We have a couple of cards that are really good together. Quinjet is going to make all of our stones cheap. Mind Stone is going to specifically draw 2 of our stones out of our deck. So it's not just a random draw. So we can guarantee that we're going to draw into our Reality Stone, Soul Stone, Time Stone, Space Stone. Any of those cards, we'll be able to make sure that we draw into them. And so the Quinjet comes down just in case we need it over there. And then we're going to go ahead and throw our armor to protect our Quinjet. And while we're at it, we're going to throw the Mind Stone into the Bifrost to draw into our additional stones. 1, that's going to make our regular draws more consistent. And then 2, we get 2 free tools that we're going to be able to use really, really easily. So we both play armor into the far right lane. Bifrost is going to push our cards from Shadowland over, and so I think we're actually going to change the Bifrost. We'll play Soulstone in Shadowland, and we're going to play Time Stone. That allows us to do an early Leech, and we've already snapped because we're fairly confident. I expect them to play into Shadowland, expecting those cards to shift over. That way they can sneak power into Plunder Castle, but we're going to make sure that they're not able to do that. However, Reality Stone changes the Strange Academy, changes the far left location into Strange Academy, and so now they would be able to do that once again. We're going to lock in the Leech play. That way they can't do a double Spider-Man lockdown. If they're doing a Hawk deck, we're going to take out that powerful late game, in-game combo. If they have a Dracula, it's no longer going to be great, but that also enables them to do an easy and free Infinite. I just think we get more value out of Leech than, let's say, an Arrow pulling their cards out of Strange Academy. Because we can always pull their cards out of Strange Academy on 5, to try to lock them down in Shadowland, and then as long as we have the lead in Plunder Castle, we should be just fine. And so they do play 1 card into Strange Academy. Let's see what they end up playing. It's the Atuma. So now if that gets moved over into Shadowland, or I don't know, if we're mean and we use something like Arrow to yank that card over, then it's going to destroy itself. I imagine they're not going to skip here. And so we're going to force Atuma into destroying himself. He's no longer going to be that wild card. I assume they were probably wanting to do some kind of like Spider-Man lockdown or something, but we're going to make sure that Atuma destroys himself. We'll see. We'll see. So it's the Sunspot and the Crossbones, which will move across the board. Let's see where they end up going. And the Crossbones lost his ability. The Sunspot was what they top decked, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. So here we're going to play the Power Stone. We're going to play Magneto. That will pull their Zabu, their Crossbones out of Plunder Castle to give us a small chance to win that lane. We're currently winning in Shadowland, not by much, but if we can pull their Zabu, maybe we can sneak it away. I don't know. Maybe they just play Infinite and they just absolutely wreck us here. They skip on this last turn. Very interesting. Thinking that we couldn't swing Plunder Castle, we couldn't play into Shadowland, they opted to let their Sunspot absorb some additional energy, and by pulling their Crossbones out, we actually win the far left and the far right lane. Even though we lose the matchup in Shadowland, we win the game overall. We will take our 4 cubes. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Vasetis. The first location is Kiln, so we're going to go ahead and sneak some early Sunspot power over into that lane. That way it can kind of absorb and grow over time. We could always potentially put the Space Stone into that lane to move Sunspot out if we needed to, or if we looked like we were overpowering it too much. And by having both the Power Stone and the Mind Stone, we're going to be able to draw into 2 of our stones, plus 1 additional just random draw, to try to find as much value. So we get the Soul Stone and the Time Stone, but not the Space Stone. The Space Stone still eludes us. And the Plunder Castle is going to be difficult to play in. I'm going to play the Time Stone in the Isle of Silence. We will be able to play a 5-cost card, but our arrow got hit with Iceman, so we won't be able to play that card. I'm thinking we will probably end up just playing Soul Stone over into Kiln, but I don't know for sure. I want to see what we're going to draw first. And so we throw down the Time Stone that draws into our She-Hulk, which we can actually play over into Kiln. If Lizard gets triggered, it's actually a potential for Cerebro too. I doubt it. With Lizard, that's really bold if that's what they go with, but it's a possibility. They wouldn't be able to play Cerebro here or here, so we'd actually be fine. I think we play the She-Hulk over into the left lane. Next turn, we can do Lockjaw and Soul Stone to rotate. And then on turn 6, we'll probably just play a Magneto or even an Arrow into Plunder Castle. Since it got hit with Iceman, we'll actually be able to play Arrow over there during this game, which is kind of a cool, quirky little bit of a added benefit. So they play Mr. Fantastic. If they're running a Silver Surfer deck, there's no way that they're going to be able to overcome that 10 power deficit, plus whatever else we absorb. So we're going to go ahead and rotate here. We can then decide what it looks like we should do. Depending on what they play, we can kind of change our game plan, call audibles if we need to, or depending on what we rotate into. We rotate into Blue Marvel, which is kind of beautiful. That's a really... Never mind, it is not a beautiful pull because Blue Marvel is in the Isle of Silence. He is there all by his lonesome. Have they already moved their Nightcrawler? I don't know. We could do Magneto. That would pull their Mr. Fantastic over, but we've already won this lane. That seems like overkill. We could pull whatever they play this turn potentially over into the Isle of Silence, which I think I like, as long as they haven't moved their Nightcrawler already. If they've moved their Nightcrawler already, I think this is a losing play. But we're going to rotate out into a very poor value card. We're going to play over into Plunder Castle, and then we'll see. It took me a while to think through that, but it looks like they didn't have an out. They end up retreating. We will take those. We will take those where we can. Tough locational layout, but overall, we were able to find a win. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have 420 minus 351. And in our starting hand, we have our Quinjet, which is beautiful. That works alongside the Triskelion. We can play these a little bit easier, which I doubt I play the Squirrel Girl just because we probably need our space. But the Khazar is a beautiful resource pool from the Triskelion, and we're going to be able to play it alongside our Blue Marvel. In this version, I opted to not go with Khazar just because you can get Killmongered. I wanted to make sure that all of my cards had either good tech or just good value out of. So if you get flipped and then you happen to get Killmongered, you still have chances to win, even if most of your one-cost cards get destroyed. But you could sub Khazar in for Arrow potentially, but I do like the tech that Arrow provides. I think it's one of the best tech cards right now in being able to make sure that your opponent can't get a Galactus playoff, that you can pull their cards out of, I don't know, Plunder Castle or another lane that they would rather have them in. And so we are going to go ahead and play our armor. We're going to play the Space Stone, which does draw us an additional free resource. However, that Power Stone is not going to generate us any additional cards. And so the Daily Bugle gives us Abomination. So they are running a Patriot build. They have to be running a Patriot build. We're going to go ahead and play the Khazar. We'll play the Power Stone. Not that it's phenomenal. I'm going to move the Space Stone over into Plunder Castle just because we can. And then we'll lock that in. Turn 5, it could potentially be that we end up doing maybe Chavez, maybe Blue Marvel. Maybe we find something else to give ourselves some additional value. The Reality Stone, the only benefit that I feel like we're going to get from the Reality Stone is that it's going to draw us an additional resource here. Since we don't have Sunspot on the board, I'm actually going to force the Abomination over to the left. Otherwise, I would just let our Sunspot absorb some power. But we are going to change this far right lane, into Throne Room. And so whatever card has the highest power in that lane is going to have it doubled, which is kind of scary because they do have the Chavez. I think maybe, just maybe, we skip here. If we skip here, next turn we can play a Blue Marvel and a She-Hulk to help us push and win the far left and far right lanes. Now they could use an Ultron to push power to the left and right, but I think it's honestly fine. We're going to lock in the skip. Now, if the Blue Marvel of their own pushes their Chavez up to 10, but our Blue Marvel is going to push our She-Hulk up to 11. And so we're going to be able to get a little bit of additional value. Plunder Castle is going to come down to them if they want to drop a resource there or not. Otherwise, we sneak it away with just the Space Stone. And so they do play over to the left lane. Let's see what they end up pushing. Because the Giganto is a giant. But we outpower their Chavez in the right lane. We win Plunder Castle with just the pity 3-power Space Stone, but that is all that we needed. We're going to go ahead and take that win. We will gladly take that win. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have the Odinson, one of the players that has been in the game for a very long time. Since closed beta, they played a lot. They won a couple of the events back before there was really much reward for them. They're a pretty knowledgeable player. A lot of times they play just high value cards, and we're gonna snap against them. I don't know if they know that they know my main account. I don't know if they know that this is our alternate account. We are gonna play Quinjet and Mind Stone. That is gonna pull our last 2 stones out of our deck. That way we can start drawing into our more efficient resources. And if we draw into Thanos, if we need to use Thanos, that's fine. But we have 4 free cards that we can throw into the board. And so they play a Forge. Oh no, the Subterranea is awful for us. Well, yes it is. I guess it is what it is. I'm going to change Nidavellir away from being Nidavellir. The rocks are already in our deck. The damage is already done. Unfortunately, we have a very rock heavy deck. We are going to play a lot of power onto the, not a lot of power, but a lot of cards onto the board here. Oh no, we changed it into Clintar, which is awful. If they're running a Silver Surfer deck, we're actually going to take away their Mr. Fantastic, but we're going to take away some of our cards as well. Let's go ahead and play the She-Hulk into, this deck can run, oh no. This deck can run, and a lot of times does, run a Killmonger, which is awful. If we push that much power in with our She-Hulk, it's kind of awful, but we're going to do it anyways. Next turn, we'll have space clear in Clintar to be able to play some additional cards. They play their Rock, their Ironheart to buff up all 3 cards. Very nice value. And then we're going to go ahead and throw our She-Hulk onto the board. That is going to merge together. Now, if they use a Killmonger, they're going to take away 11 of their own value, and they're going to take away 14 of ours in the process as well. So we'll see what they end up going with. Killmonger would actually clear the rest of our board, so they would definitely get more value out of it than we will, but we'll see what they end up going with. And so the Ironheart tells me it's probably a Mr. Negative deck that runs a White Tiger. Interesting. And so I would expect Odin here. Odin would re-trigger both of these, right? And so if we can pull their Ironheart over, that's only going to be 9 power here. If the 7 power goes here, that's fine. We lose this lane, but we win this one. If it goes here, that's fine. We win this one, and we win this one, and we tie mid. I think this is what we're going to go with. Okay, we do get the retreat. We put them in a very tough position. It looks like they were running a Mr. Negative deck. We were able to capitalize on it. We snapped early once we knew that we had Quinjet and our stone generating cards, and we're able to find ourselves in a very winnable position. Let's go ahead and take that, and we'll jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Ark, and the first location is Plunder Castle, which is actually not too terrible for this list. We're able to use the Space Stone to sneak some early power there, so then if we yank their cards with something like an arrow, ooh, they use an Ebony Maw into the last location, which is very bold. That means they only have 4 spots to play in until they're able to play over into Plunder Castle. Very bold, very interesting choice. They do use a Psylocke to ramp up, so maybe they're running a ramp deck and they're going to want to do something like Dr. Doom and some additional cards to push value. Wow, what is this? We're going to go ahead and change that location. I don't want it to be Isle of Silence. Normally I hold the Reality Stone, but this time it is time to pull the trigger. We need them to not be able to play in this location so that they're at least have some downside from playing Ebony Maw into an unknown location. And I'm going to go ahead and play our Time Stone as well. Next turn, maybe we can do Lockjaw plus a stone or two. What are these games? So we have Sandman that we're going up against now. So they ramp into a turn 3 Sandman, which is kind of scary. We do have some pretty decent cards, but turn 3 Sandman is still very, very scary. All our cards are gonna cost 1 extra next turn, which is just awful. And then on the last turn, we'll have to see what we can do. Oh man, this is a game for sure. I don't know that it's a good game, but this is a game. This is a head scratcher. We're gonna use Leech so that if they wanted to ramp up into a Dr. Doom, a Magneto, they're not gonna be able to use the abilities from those cards. And then our cards are gonna cost 1 more, plus we can only play 1 card per turn. I'm gonna believe in the Heart of Grand Central. We're going to believe that it's going to pull into our Infinite, our She-Hulk, and then Space Stone is going to allow us to move it over into Plunder Castle. That way we can focus on winning one of the other 2 lanes instead. What a strange game we have found ourselves in. And so Space Stone gives us the ability to move a card. We do draw Arrow, which is unfortunate. Their Claw does not have the reach that they want it to have because it got hit with our Leech. And so here, I'm actually going to just move 1 card over. I'm going to move the 1 power Space Stone. That way it is just enough to give us value if they don't play over there. If they do, they have to invest a 6 cost card. And then with the rest, we already win this location, and we can use the remaining to push and win the Ebony Maw lane. And so we do get the retreat. What a wild game. We will take it though. And with that one, we are going to go ahead and end the video. I am going to test this out some more once this featured location goes away because I did just unlock Thanos, but so far it has been very, very promising. I climbed from about 81 to 85 in just the span of testing and the games played for this video. And so overall, very promising list so far. I'm going to experiment with it a little bit further, but I do think it has some incredible potential. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave it a like and a comment down below. And as always, this has been TLSG. Later, guys.